get in charge one more time. I mean, they were talking about cracking down on hate speech online. Like, that free speech is not hate speech. That Tim Walz guy was actually saying that.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Hate speech. Free speech does not include hate speech. Like, what are you, by whose definition? Yours? A guy who thinks tampons should be in the boys' room?
After it's born.
Trying to distort the way a law is written to try and make a point, that's not it at all.
What was I wrong about, Governor? Please tell me, what was I wrong about?
That is not the way the law is written. Look, I've given
but how?
I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, getting engaged, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last debate.
From 2015 to 2023, which was the date Tim Walz repealed the law requiring life-saving care, 24 babies were born alive in Minnesota after an attempted abortion.
If brain fog wore a suit and signed bills, it'd look exactly like Tim Walz. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly just drop-kicked his entire agenda into next week. Ever wonder what happens when a governor runs a state like it's an improv class no one asked for? Spoiler, disaster. Stick around. Rogan's got jokes. Kelly's got receipts, and Walz, he's got confusion. This is a political roast Minnesota didn't know it needed, but absolutely, without question, deserves.
Part of this gang of ne'er-do-well criminals. And the whole movie, you know that there is a big boogeyman lurking named Kaiser Soze. And Kevin Spacey's character gets dragged into the police station early on, and they are really tough on him. They start questioning him. Chaz Palminteri does a great job of cross-examining him. And at the end of the movie, you find out that this guy doesn't have the limp he pretended to have, doesn't have like a bent hand that he pretended to have, that he's perfectly fine. He struts off into the sunset, and we learn he was the bad guy all along. And I have to tell you, Mark, that is how I'm feeling today about Tim Walz. This guy scares me.
Tim Walz, Minnesota's very own political IKEA chair, wildly overpriced, and somehow falling apart straight out of the box. Every time he opens his mouth, it's an exercise in assembly-required confusion. Leave it to Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly to roast him like a turkey stuffed with indecision.
If that Tim Walz guy got into power, like if Kamala died and Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, president, you know how crazy this country would be? That weirdo who puts tampons in the boys' room, and what about our joy? Like, he's a complete pathological liar, like a complete liar. Lied about being in Tiananmen Square, lied about being a head coach of a football team.
I thought some of that was just weird and how avoidable it was.
100% avoidable, but pathological liars, people that are habitual liars, they just lie all the time about everything.
But there's a way.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon. But now, let's dive straight into the epic unraveling of Tim Oops, I Did It Again Walz. His idea of leadership, it's like playing SimCity on hard mode, with the controller unplugged. He governs like a guy desperately trying to win a participation trophy in a leadership escape room. Every decision triggers another locked door, another smoke alarm, and yet another reason Minnesotans awkwardly pretend they're just visiting from Wisconsin.
They bring in her, and they bring in this other guy who's radical from Minnesota. That's the vice president, who he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13. Another one is abortion up until 9 months.
Ooh.
Yeah. He changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like a Somali flag. That stuff scares the f*** out of people.
Joe Rogan took one look at Tim Walz's pandemic policies and nearly choked on his elk jerky. It was like watching a man attempt brain surgery with a selfie stick. 1 week, it's stay home, stay safe, and the next, it's come on out, we believe in you, as if the virus just needed a little encouragement to leave like an awkward party guest. Walz handled COVID like a guy trying to land a plane while skimming Yelp reviews for the nearest craft brewery.
Continues for Tim Walz on the disastrous performance he delivered, in particular when it comes to his self-described knuckle-headed behavior. This one was that he was in China when the Tiananmen Square disaster unfolded, when hundreds of people were killed.
I have my dates wrong. I was in Hong Kong and China in 1989. That move from Hong Kong into China, it was profound for me. That was the summer of democracy. I said it's where I understood how sacred democracy was. It's what encouraged me, about 15 back and forth with my students, taking them to China. I speak like everybody else speaks. I need to be clear, I will tell you that. I do understand China a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump. Kamala Harris understands China.
The excuse for his lies, Michael, is I speak like everybody else.
Megyn Kelly wasn't far behind, wielding sarcasm like a chainsaw at a Build-A-Bear workshop. Watching her talk about Governor Tim Walz's policies was like hearing someone describe a Hallmark movie that got rewritten by a sleep-deprived intern. Full of plot holes, emotional meltdowns, and someone crying over cheese in a canoe. She practically turned Walz into a political piñata stuffed with soggy mandates, broken promises, and crumpled press releases that say absolutely nothing. And then there's the epic saga of Tim Walz versus Law and Order, which honestly deserves its own Netflix docuseries narrated by a bald eagle on antidepressants. His approach to public safety? Like letting a squirrel manage airport security. Chaotic, nuts, and constantly darting in the wrong direction. Picture Minneapolis. It looked like someone lost a bet with a flamethrower. Meanwhile, Captain Empathy held a press conference, staring into the camera like a substitute algebra teacher who just realized he's in a biology class. He mumbled something about healing, listening, and maybe community gardens, while chaos rolled through the streets like a demolition derby hosted by anarchists.
And he was 100% right with Tim Walz.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
I mean, that guy was almost the vice president of the United States. I'm sure you've seen that thing where it shows Obama saying, I need a vice president that's dumber than me.
Yeah.
And then it's Biden, and
I think
Biden
I was saying that
I
on
need
your,
a vice president dumber than me.
Great.
And it's Kamala, and Kamala saying, I need a vice president dumber than me. And it's Walz.
No, this is why
men have tampons.
Yeah.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz.
Meanwhile, law enforcement vanished like a magician's assistant. Poof, gone. Tim ghosted them harder than your ex after you sent a you up? Text. Joe Rogan looked genuinely stunned and basically asked, who is this guy? And does he even go here? Walz governs like a man who signed up for an online course called Leadership for Dummies, watched the intro, and then got sidetracked by a YouTube rabbit hole on raccoons using vending machines. He's the only governor who can read a teleprompter and still look like he's trying to remember his own name. And his buzzword strategy? Oh, it's pure magic. He tosses out words like equity, innovation, and resilience like he's playing political bingo in a wind tunnel. The problem? None of it means anything when the city looks like a Mad Max sequel filmed on location. Walz seems to think governing is just giving a TED Talk with snacks. He doesn't solve problems. He hosts them, gives them name tags, and offers them hummus.
Doug Brunt, my husband, he doesn't react to that much in the news. And so when it gets his attention, I know that something's gone either very right or very wrong. And he did not like this clip from Tim Walz reacting to the Taylor Swift news. Watch.
Taylor Swift signed childless cat lady. I have to get your response to that, Mr. Governor.
All those things, I am incredibly grateful, first of all, to Taylor Swift. I say that also as a cat owner, a fellow cat owner. Look, Swifties, you heard it. We know that it's there. That was eloquent, and it was clear. And that's the type of courage we need in America to stand up.
And my husband said he looks like Elmer Fudd. That's what he looks like, Elmer Fudd. Like there's something off about this guy.
Doug, let's talk fashion, because we absolutely must. Tim Walz dresses like a dad who lost a bet and had to show up to a PDA meeting wearing whatever was draped over his laundry chair. Windbreaker? Check. Confused expression? Double check. The energy of someone who just got asked for directions in a state he supposedly governs? Triple check. He looks like he wandered out of Home Depot, tripped over a ballot box, and accidentally became governor. The man radiates beige. He could walk through a khaki warehouse and vanish like a chameleon in cargo shorts. And then there's education. Oh boy. Megyn Kelly didn't just criticize him. She intellectually scalped him. His education policies are what happens when you let a Pinterest board run a school district. He applauded kindergartners for opening Chrome tabs, while high schoolers were Googling how to math through tears. He shut down schools like he was trying to beat Friday traffic, then reopened them like he was playing a chaotic game of educational whack-a-mole. Under Walz, students didn't thrive, they survived. They mastered the mute button fake nodding during Zoom calls, and emotionally supporting their parents through algebra-induced meltdowns. Test scores tanked harder than a crypto scam, and Tim still tried to slap a gold star on it and call it progress.
Radical from Minnesota. That's the vice president who, he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13. Another one is abortion up until 9 months.
Ooh.
Yeah. Obviously, there's reasons why people medically would, like, if the woman's life is in danger, if the child has something wrong, it's not going to live. There's reasons why they choose to do things like that. But that stuff's...
Meanwhile, teachers were trapped in a Kafkaesque maze of contradictory mandates. First it was online teaching, then back to in-person, then some chaotic hybrid of both, like juggling knives while solving riddles from the Department of Education's escape room division. Their thanks? A half-off coupon for Subway, and a pat on the back from a governor who couldn't pick a lane with GPS and divine intervention. And remember when Walz tried to play both sides, wooing teachers' unions while pretending to care about parents? It was like watching a guy at a dinner party try to flirt with everyone and still get rejected by the wine. Joe Rogan nailed it. It's like someone attempting yoga while chasing a raccoon out of their garage. Confusing, pointless, and someone's definitely going to get rabies. Then there's the economy, or as Tim calls it, that thing I think about between naps. His economic strategy? Picture duct tape on a leaky dam while handing out coupons to the canoe rental shop. As businesses collapse faster than his credibility, Walz was busy celebrating another grant program that paid consultants to explain why no one wanted to work anymore. Spoiler alert, they were broke, overtaxed, and ignored, just like everyone under his leadership.
To brand Governor Walz moderate and a representation of middle America, that's not true. He's not moderate. Driver's licenses for illegals, check. Free tuition for illegals, check. Free health insurance, free that is, for illegals, check. Who pays for that again? Does Governor Walz just like draft an imaginary check from an imaginary pot of money? Oh wait, no, it's the taxpayers. He's all for teenagers undergoing life-altering gender surgeries. And by the way, he wants to take your child away from you if you won't okay them. He supports putting tampons in the boys' bathrooms for kids as young as the 4th grade.
Megyn Kelly looked ready to combust when she tore into Tim Walz's energy policies. This is a man who seemingly declared war on reliable electricity, like it had insulted his cousin at Thanksgiving. Minnesota winters are already cold enough to make your soul shiver, but Walz's solution? What if we made it colder for equity? He championed wind turbines with the passion of a late-night infomercial host, all while residents were freezing in their own homes. If irony were a power source, Minnesota would be lighting up the entire Midwest by now. And then, transportation. Oh boy, Walz decided what Minnesota really needed wasn't functioning infrastructure, but the idea of more trains. Not actual trains that go anywhere, just billion-dollar concepts that run on vibes and committee optimism. He greenlit rail projects so absurd they'd make Elon Musk blush, except without the charisma, budget, or working machinery. Meanwhile, roads disintegrated, potholes grew sentient, and cyclists began commuting on sheer willpower and shoulder shrugs. Joe Rogan couldn't stop laughing. This dude's infrastructure plan is like a 12-year-old describing their dream treehouse. Big vision, no blueprint, and duct tape holding all together. While Tim Walz dreams of Montreal's, the rest of Minnesota just want a working snowplow and a pothole patch that lasts more than 5 days.
War. You didn't. Why are you saying you deployed at war? The weapons you used in war? No. You were in war. Like, oh, you were a head coach? No, you weren't a head coach. You were the water boy.
Yeah.
The fuck are you talking about?
I thought some of that was weird.
Well, he's just a liar. But that's what a lot of these people are. They're just actors who are ugly. And they're like, well, I can't really make it in show business. And I want a lot of attention. And I want to be a special person. So I'll do politics. I'm good at bullshitting.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, they're trusting. They're like, oh, he's saying the right things. If you say the right things, abracadabra. And then next thing you know, you're a fucking governor.
Yeah.
And let's not skip the piece de resistance, Tim Walz's legendary communication skills. This is a man who could give a TED Talk titled How to Say Absolutely Nothing in 40 Minutes. He speaks like someone who swallowed a thesaurus and forgot what the words mean. Listening to a Walz speech feels like playing Mad Libs with a broken Etch-a-Sketch. He's the only governor who can turn a basic recycling announcement into something that sounds like a poorly translated IKEA manual. Megyn Kelly absolutely shredded him, like a wood chipper operating in a library. According to her, Walz sounds like he's trying to channel both Gandhi and Bob Ross while delivering bad news. We believe in community, accountability, and a sustainable future-forward initiative, he'll say. What does that even mean, Tim? Are we getting more recycling bins? Or did you just legalize interpretive dance as a response to crime?
Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. Vice President Kamala Harris delivered her closing message last night at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. A brief, scripted, of course it was. Whose words were these? Whose thoughts were these? Whose promises were these? Speech where she urged all Americans to, quote, stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. Oh, by the way, Trump is Hitler. It's like the same as Joe Biden after he was inaugurated. I will be a unifier. I am looking for unity. Trump is Hitler. And no sooner had she ended her remarks.
Joe Rogan delivered the ultimate burn. Tim Walz is a human version of an expired granola bar. Looks fine on the outside, makes you sick if you consume too much. At this point, Minnesotans are reaching for political antacids like their digestive systems depend on it. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about how Walz handles accountability, or more accurately, how he sprints in the opposite direction like a guy who just spotted his ex in the grocery store. Nothing is ever his fault. It's always the previous administration, systemic complexity, or Mercury being in retrograde. The man has more excuses than a high schooler who forgot his homework and then spilled Mountain Dew on the dog. And when anyone dares to question his record, he breaks into classic Walz two-step. Smile awkwardly, mutter, we're working on it, and vanish into the fog of government jargon like Batman disappearing into a PowerPoint presentation.
Tim Walz is out there talking again.
These are bad guys, though. These are bad guys.
Did you say you could fight any Trump supporter?
Yeah, he says he kicked their ass. And
I think I could kick most of their ass. I do think that.
They're scared of him because he could fix a truck.
I think I scare them a little bit why they spend so much time on it.
They're threatened by his masculinity. I know how to fix a truck.
No, I'm serious because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not bullshitting.
Do you? I bet you don't.
How do we push some of those guys back under a rock? You don't think it's racism and misogyny?
I bet if I bring a broken truck to you and a bag of tools, you're
Megyn Kelly summed it up perfectly. Tim Walz governs like he's trying not to get caught. Every move feels like damage control rather than leadership. His playbook? Hashtag half measures and a Coldplay playlist to cry to after every press conference. And let's not forget the infamous mask mandate era. Walz handed out mask orders like Oprah giving away cars. You get a mask, you get a mask, without ever making the rules clear. Nobody knew what was required. But hey, wear them anyway. When confusion hit, Walz did what any true leader would do. Blamed the CDC, blamed the weather, and may have even blamed gluten. Rogan joked the only thing more inconsistent than Walz's mask policy was the Wi-Fi at a Minneapolis Starbucks. Kelly added that by the end, people were just tying socks to their faces and hoping it counted. It was public health by chaos and vibes.
Out there to be sort of man of the people, you know, in his flannel and like a real regular working class guy, like a teacher you can relate to. And the latest effort was him this weekend, like working on his car. He's just like a guy who works on the car and kicks the engine around. Here is a bit of an ad. This is an ad showing him working on this car. Watch.
Everything works on here. Except one thing I'm still tinkering with, cruise control. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. At the same time, we talk about creating an opportunity economy. So
all of this chaos forms a beautiful mosaic of confusion, where every policy decision feels like throwing a dart at a spinning will label hope for the best. And somehow, every time Tim Walz takes a shot, it lands squarely on make everything worse and announce a task force. But perhaps the greatest irony of all is Walz's obsession with unity. He talked about bringing people together like he's hosting a family reunion no one RSVP'd to, except his version of unity involves alienating half the state while hugging a wind turbine and yelling about empathy over Zoom. Rogan nailed it. Tim Walz wants to lead a Kumbaya circle in the middle of a burning building. And Megyn Kelly? She didn't even try to sugarcoat it. According to her, the guy couldn't unify a box of crayons. And now that Minnesota is trapped in his coloring book of contradictions, the rest of us are just trying not to get scribbled into oblivion.
He believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13.
So for those out there who are wondering, aren't there something else you could be doing or doesn't seem to impact you in your life? This is what it means to show empathy. This is what it means to be welcoming.
He changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like the Somali flag. You haven't seen that?
But our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more reflective.
And so here we are, a state rich in lakes, culture, and resilience, led by a man who treats leadership like an improv game where no one's allowed to yell scene. Joe Rogan roasted him like marshmallows over the dumpster fire of Walz's decisions, while Megyn Kelly served up sarcasm like hors d'oeuvres at the political apocalypse. And Tim Walz just stood there, blinking slowly, wondering if maybe next time he should skip the press briefing and just consult a magic 8-ball instead.